Let me move to Amani. Just to give a brief background about her, Amani is a consultant. I have to read them because there's lots of letters here, Amani, if you don't mind me. She got a master's degree in medical law from Cardiff University. She also got another master's degree in clinical neuropsychiatry from Birmingham University. She's a fellow of the Royal College of Psychiatrist, London. She got a diploma in psychological medicine from Cardiff University. She has been a consultant in the UK for a long time. She is now a consultant in Emirates, United Arab Emirates, in Sheikh Khalifa Medical City. So Amani will share with us overall the mental health and the well-being of our kids. So Amani, the floor is yours. If you can unmute yourself, and then the floor is yours.
Thank you for the introduction. And I'm gonna share the screen as you told me last time. Yes, okay. So I'm gonna talk about the psychological effect actually, or the impact of COVID-19 or the lockdown on our kids. So I want everyone to look at this picture where you could see a girl brushing her teeth with her mom, and they both are looking at the mirror. And what I'm trying to make clear here is the child is nothing but a mirror of his or her own family. So if we look at this mirror, the child actually is mirroring the mother in her behavior. So she's brushing her teeth with her mother. They are both wearing white colors. And if we could see that the mother hand is on the tummy of the child, and the child is also trying to hold her mother hand or finger. And the child is smiling, and the mother is smiling as well. And so if we put this picture in our head, it's actually what children are doing during the lockdown are more or less mirroring their parents' behavior. Okay, so the COVID-19 pandemic, unfortunately, it's not something easy. It's almost like a disaster or a crisis for many. And it affected us in many aspects. And it's like any other, how can I say, trauma or a loss or a disaster, people's reaction differ towards it. So for some people, they perceive, yeah. So for many people at the beginning, it was like a shocking thing. Shocking in what way? The way of their behavior was a complete state of disbelief. There isn't such thing as that. It happened in certain countries. It's not going to come to us. We are not affected by that. We are different, or thank God we haven't seen it yet. So you've seen for a while a state of shock. So some people went through this phase of shock. Some, and people differ in terms of the time they did spend in that phase. Okay, and people when they are in shock, some people will have or experience or exhibit inappropriate behavior. I'm not going to go into that now. And some people will be muted completely. So all I'm saying is all of us, we went through that state of shock. For some, it took us just a few days. For certain people, it took them months. So I just want you to go through with me and focus on these phases, and just think of each child as mirroring his parents or her parents and reflecting every phase. Then for other people, they will move from shock quickly, and they will never go into that shock, and they will be in a state of denial. And the state of denial will be like, there is no such thing as COVID-19. There is no COVID here, or I'm fine. None of my family and friends had it. So this is another phase where it's reflected in the household, where kids are locked with their parents. So I'm trying to reflect on the children behavior and reflecting the state where the family is experiencing. I cannot move this. Oh, sorry, we have to go back. Then from denial, some families, they experience anger. And anger is because maybe many plans just failed, or the parents, one of them lost their job, or lost family member, or their whole life plan just are upside down. So when the family are going through anger, or the parents are going through anger, that anger might be manifested in over-exaggerated response. People differ in the way they show their reactions. And some family or some parents may exhibit physical and verbal aggression. So I want you again to think of that, and to think of a child that will mimic that behavior. As we go from shock, disbelief, or denial, and then anger, then there is this phase of depression, that all of a sudden it's a reality. I can't do anything about it. I've lost family member, or I've lost my job, or I am unable to leave home completely. So it's a state of depression. And I would like to make it very clear here, the depression I'm talking about is not a depressive disorder. It's not a psychiatric disorder. It's actually just feeling sad, crying, and you don't know how to comfort yourself, or maybe having these catastrophic thoughts. All right, all my family are gonna go one by one. And then people might experience nightmares. And I'm talking here, this state of depression might be shared with both the family and the child. And I repeat, the child is nothing but a mirror of his own family. And for some people, they just stop functioning. And I'm aware of certain people who refused to leave home, even when the lockdown was eased for a certain, if we can all remember, last year during the summertime, when COVID-19, or we came out of wave 1, there was some kind of relaxing or easing of some of the measures. But for certain people, they did not leave their home at all, and their kids as well did not leave their home at all. So this is this, for many families, they went through this depressive phase. All right, and then the final phase, whenever there is a grief or a crisis or a problem, is the acceptance. I'm accepting the presence of COVID-19. It's there, it's a reality. We completed a whole year. We moved from wave 1 to wave 2. And God knows, I've heard certain countries talking about wave 3 and 4 and 5. So there is kind of a state of acceptance. So most of the world at the moment is in this phase. Saying that, there are still families and parents who are stuck in either the anger phase or the depressive phase. And according to the phase that the families are stuck in, this would be reflected on the behavior of the children. Okay? So I'm gonna now, to finish my presentation, I'm just gonna think of how do we get out, or how do we get the best out of this? So when we talk about management, it's very important to know or to diagnose which stage or phase this family is stuck in with their child. And it's important also to know the child age, because if the child is below 13 or below, or a primary school child, these children are not capable of abstract thinking. Their thinking is just literal. So whatsoever is being said to me, I'm going to believe it, and they're not capable of how can I say that, kind of making sense of things. So the child age will help us understand his or her behavior. And also we need to know what is the behavior to start with. So when we talk about certain behavioral problem with the lockdown, what is this behavior? And we need also to see, or to make sure whether there is a physical or mental illness, whether in the child or the family. And part of the management, we need to establish a routine. A routine will make sense a little bit of the situation or the lockdown. And for every family, I believe if we set a plan for the week, the children won't feel that they're lost. At least somebody's taking leadership. And as the previous speaker, our head teacher, said, that should be a special consideration for children with neurodevelopmental disorder. And what I meant here, children with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, autism spectrum disorder, Tourette syndrome, and learning disability, because these kids by nature, routine is their life. So these kids, I'm afraid we have to make a different plan for them, all right? Because routine is a big thing for them. All right, so when we talk about management, we have to talk about good coping strategies. We've got a problem, and it's an endless problem. We don't know when all this is going to end. No one knows when this lockdown will finish. So we kind of psycho-educate the families that maybe you need to adopt a good coping strategies. So there should be a sleep routine. And when I mean sleep routine, the sleep routine is not for the child alone, because I'm repeating myself here. The child is nothing but a mirror of this family. So a sleep routine, it's not good to send my child to go to bed. Although we are all locked down, we are all sharing the same house. You go to sleep now, but I will stay. I don't think a child will accept that. And there should be also a routine when it comes to meals. So there's be a proper meals as before, as if the school is open. And parents also need to sit with their kids while they're taking meal. Not everyone will take a dish and go into his own bedroom. And there should be time dedicated for activities. So yes, this is a school time, but time for activities. And here I encourage activities like board games. And I encourage families to play with their kids. And to have a discussion, like, so there will be an open dialogue. So I'm not talking about screen time here. And it's also good to ask the child to help in the house. It's okay for the child to help his parents in cooking, and to learn even to cook even something almost nearly as simple as making a toast or eggs, according to the child age, supervised or unsupervised. Cleaning also, emptying the dishwasher, just to keep that child busy, not to leave that child's imagination going wild and having catastrophic thoughts about, oh, for how long I'm going to be on this lockdown, what will happen if I lose my parents and that. So the more activities the child is busy in, we ensure to some extent a better mental health. And then going out for a walk, I believe this is having fresh air, just leaving the house. It's important, it's healthy. Research even proves that physical activities really do enhance mental health and lift the mood. And also, it's good to have an open dialogue and discussion with the child. So I said it before, the world of secrets will not help anyone. We need to have, so whenever the child asks us a question, we have to answer as honest as we could and simplify the information according to their cognitive ability. The other thing with regard to activity, it's very important to dedicate a place for each activity. So for example, all our life, if we are eating around the dining room, or then around the dining table in the dining room, we should not change that to the bedroom. If we are playing in the sitting room, we should play or do these board games in the sitting room. So it will be good to dedicate, to make, place for each activity. So the child will have a sense of there is somebody in control here and we haven't lost our life. And it's very important that as soon as they wake up, they leave their bedroom. I know for certain families, their house might be small, but if the child could leave the bedroom only for sleep or to take a rest, it will be great. If family could afford that, please, we need to separate place of sleep from place of studying, from place of eating. So this is very important. So what are the bad coping strategies? What are the bad things that we do and we are not aware of? And it's not helping the lockdown at all as parents, because it will be reflected on our kids' behavior. Shouting and screaming at the child will shout and scream back at me, or will shout and scream back at his siblings, because this is a learned behavior. And we have to be very careful within the lockdown period, because the learned behavior here is going to be maximized. In the past, let us say that if we go to work or when our kids go to school, we spend kind of 8 hours with them before each one go to bed. And they got 8 hours at school. But we are talking here about almost 16 hours if we exclude sleep out, that the whole life we are trapped with them in the same house. So we have to mind our behavior. So shouting and screaming is not going to help anyone. And just be mindful that you're teaching your son a bad thing or your daughter, that whenever there is a disaster, your coping strategy should be shouting and screaming. So we should consider long-term consequences of our behavior. Bullying, in a way, this is bullying. I'm talking about the child bullying his siblings, but on the same time, if the parent is being, how can I say, mean to the child will learn nothing but bullying. Drinking and eating a lot in front of the child will mimic that behavior, will drink and eat a lot, because this is the way you're coping with the pandemic. This is the way you're coping with a lockdown as a parent. You're eating too much. Even if this is your bad coping strategies from before, in front of the child, try to change this in a way, because all this period, you have to multiply it by 2. As I said, we've lost more or less the school. I know we're doing online learning, it's at home, but for most families, they're actually sitting beside that child. Increase screen time. So it's not good to say to the child, listen, you've watched computer and you've done computer games enough. You've been watching your mobile for a long time. That's it. Stop it while I'm looking at my mobile 24/7. So as I said, the child is mirroring his parents. When we do less physical activities, time for us to go for a walk, and we say, oh, let's forget about it today and let's do something else. Because as I said, exercise kind of help your body, help your brain, and there is a lot of evidence and research with regard to exercise. Disobedience, so parental discord, as I said, there are reports about increased kind of problems between parents, husband and wife. So we have to make sure that at least there is some form of a code of conduct in front of our kids. Hitting others, verbal and physical aggression towards a child, the child will learn that my father does hit out, I will hit out. And although we know there is a social services thing, and we know that we are not doing harm, or we know there is kind of like a big brother watching, but the sad thing during this pandemic, there is no one to report to. So we have to be mindful and careful. And I know this talk is not only for UK, it's for the whole, as there are many people watching it from different parts of the world, we have to be careful. Any bad coping strategies or bad behavior is going to be reflected, and it's going to be a long learned behavior for our child. And then lying at a child, telling lies to a child, he will justify it and say, my father lies, so there is no harm. If adults are lying, I can lie as well. So this is more or less, I'm trying to give just a brief presentation just to give an idea about the psychological problem during the lockdown. And I'm just then going to be open to this, to any question. Yeah, finished.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amani. Extremely helpful and useful, really. If you could kindly just end the share.
All right.
So we can, yeah. Thank you very much, Amani. Extremely, I'm following here, extremely helpful. And this is very well placed, complementing what is said earlier by Remy. I will come back to you with the discussion, but there is one question I know is being echoed quite a lot. Given what you have said, assuming, for example, for the sake of argument, in the UK, likely we might see the light at the end of the tunnel getting out of the house, maybe June, July, maybe this summer we can go out, go to the bar, maybe. But let's assume June or May or other countries, maybe different times. Are our kids, they were just like in a prison, we're going to open the gate and they will just run freely, stress-free, or there will be a rehabilitation period we have to count and think about it from now? So they will just be normal when we go out and finish. Vaccination is finished, say by June, July, August, and then they can go back to school or whatever in next September. Are they just going to be as normal as they used to be, or there will be a rehabilitation period for them to recope back to the normality, or to cope with this normality again?
Okay, thank you for the question, but I believe this is a difficult question to answer, because there is ongoing research at the moment at different level with regard to the impact of the COVID-19 and lockdown on kids and their mental health. And one of the things we're expecting, already there are reports about increased anxiety, increased depression. So we're expecting to see cases of post-traumatic stress. What does it mean that post-traumatic is after, I'm out of this trauma, I'm still reliving it. So whether children will be able to go out, I'm hoping that for the majority, it will be a normal kind of rehab or going back to school. Saying that, we are expecting a surge, because at the moment, there is kind of a decreased rate of children seeking kind of help from psychiatric services. We are not, that is not reflecting that there is no problems, but that's reflecting that parents are reluctant because of the fear of contracting COVID-19. They're reluctant, they're trying their best to sort the child at home. But we are expecting a surge or increase in the prevalence of many kind of what we call neurotic disorder, depression, anxiety, not only in adults, but in kids as well. But the scale of that is nobody will be able to quantify it. But saying that, I believe it's not a prison. So if we're doing this work and trying to normalize life, we're not hopefully going to be discharged from prison. And as I said, if you keep the child busy in doing activities, you are not leaving his brain to go wild into catastrophic thoughts, So it might be to kind of promote some form of positivity. We're going to leave the house, life is going to go back to normal, So I believe promoting positivity is very important in this hard time. What will happen in June? I really cannot see myself saying to a child in June things are going to we're going to go back to normal, because we don't know what's going to happen. But if this is our reality at the moment, we have to live in this acceptance phase. This is our reality. And whenever people start to mourn or complain, I believe we need to say, I'm glad, or thank God we are alive.
Thank you very much, Dr. Amani.
بنحلم بفضاء أوسع، بنحلم بزمن أجمل، بلاد ميلاد، بلاد ميلاد. بنحلم بفضاء أوسع، بنحلم بزمن أجمل، بلاد ميلاد، بلاد ميلاد. وطن ممتد لحد حدود الحد، وطن لا فيه